Hey, yo, what up, what up? What's good? Shout out to the graveyard shift. Shout out to the overtime. Shout out to the swing shift. Shout out to the night shift. It's me, it's your man, it's your boy, Alpha the First One. The YouTube channel is A11 E-Waste Dating Tips, or you can type in E-Waste Dating Tips by A11, E-Waste Dating Tips by Alpha the First One, or just E-Waste Dating Tips, or just A11 Media. Because a lot of the pages that I'm on multiple platforms, I'm just putting A11 Media because I have multiple YouTube channels and I have multiple subjects I cover. I cover home renovations, I cover landscaping, I cover e-waste scrapping, I cover automotive hot rodding. Yes, I do sleep, y'all. I do sleep. Unfortunately, I sleep about 5 hours a day. Naturally, that's all I sleep. Four, no more than 5 hours. If I get 8 hours of sleep, I actually feel bad. I mean, I had a really, really I was up for like 3 days straight. You see what I'm saying? That's usually happen when I go see the dentist. That's usually when I stay up like 2 or 3 days because my adrenaline's pumping. I'm one of those rare people, man. I feel better and perform better when I sleep about 4 or 5 hours a night. So it is what it is. No, shout out to the trolls. Shout out to my new listeners. I'm a very unorthodox presentation. I'm not gonna be putting any timestamps in my videos. I'm not gonna be speeding up how I talk. I'm not gonna change how I talk. If you don't like me, just leave. Deuces. As y'all know, I respect freedom of speech and I respect your autonomy, and I appreciate you listening to me. I will never, ever, ever ask for a like, a view, or subscribe because if you like me, if you want to subscribe, and if you don't, then that's fine. I respect whatever you want to do. It doesn't matter to me. If you choose to continue to listen to me, great. If I reach one person, just one, if one person say, "Hey, Alpha man, you really helped me from getting a bad deal," I say that's all I needed to know. One guy, one man, one man. Tell you a quick story right quick before I get into the game. I used to work for Delta Airlines in Hartsfield Jackson, Atlanta Airport. And when I used to work at Delta, uh, there was this guy I used to work with. At that time, he was not a supervisor. He was not. And I used to work on the ramp. I was a ramp agent. And that's when I was going to college. And he basically, uh, he was trying to become a supervisor. I was not. I was going to college. So for me, the airport was just the best job I could get while I was in school. You know what I'm saying? It was pretty cool. You get to work out, you know, ride on airplanes if you had some time off. I never had any time off. I actually, uh, when I used to work at the airport, they used to give us free flights, the free flights. That was one of the benefits. I never used it. I never used it. I actually, uh, I think I gave away like 2 or 3 tickets just to people. I'm serious. I had a whole bunch of people who wanted flights, and I just gave them away. I was in school, man. I didn't even, I didn't have any time. I knew guys going to Brazil, doing the passport thing way back. Well, this is like way back in the early 2000s, So I never used my flights ever, ever. I worked at Delta for about almost 3 years, and I never took a flight because I was in school. I was in school. I was in the military, and I was, working and chasing women. So I just never had any time. So for me, I just gave them away. People was like, "How many flights you got? How many flight passes you got?" I think they gave us like what 7 or 8 or something like that. I just gave them away. People was like, "What?" I gave it to like two couples. Two couples went on a vacation, and the dude was happy, and I didn't give a shit, man. But I was working with this guy, and he asked me. He said, he was just talking to me one day. We was on a ramp, doing the planes. Like, man, I want to go for supervisor, and I was like, shit, go for it. I was like, go ahead and go. I said, because he was full time, and at that time, I used to work full time hours, but I was technically a part-time worker because of school. I needed the flexibility that if I didn't want to work for 8 hours, I could just leave because I had a finals or something. And they didn't have no problem with that. Most athletes and student athletes and stuff, they didn't have no problem with that. They liked it because sometimes we would put in 8 hours or 12 hours, and it would fill in for days where people who wanted days off or dental appointments or something like that. And so basically, he was always there. He was a full timer. That was his job. He was gonna retire with Delta. Delta's a good company though. One of the best companies I worked for. I don't regret it. I do not regret it. It was a good time. I learned a lot working at the airport. Shout out to the airport folks. Very hard job. Very hard. Very hard. Very fast paced. You absolutely got to keep up. A lot of memory. A lot of memory. A lot of fast paced stuff, and it can be dangerous. It can be very dangerous. So uh, when I worked up there, he asked me. He just said, "Hey man, you think I should go out for supervise?" I said, "Yeah, go." He's like, "For real?" I said, "Yeah, go." I said, "Why not?" I said, "Look at all these other people around here. Half of them sleeping, sleeping in the back of plane, running on the tarmac trying to get autographs. They always trying to get autographs from people flying in and latest star athlete." I said, "Why don't you go and do it, man?" I said, "You'll be a good supervisor. You ain't too strict. You ain't too hard. You just right. You know what's going on." And like a month or two passed, and he was like, "Man, I told some other people about me becoming the supervisor, and they all laughed at me and stuff." And the dude was kind of short. I'm 6'6", so he had to be about maybe like 5'9". I think about 5'9". He was a short dude, little brother. And I told him, I said, "Look, man, don't pay no mind on people, master. Man, you the right dude for the job." I said, "I love working with you on this side," because they used to always bounce me around. I was a part timer, and I love when I worked on his side of the concourse because they was more orderly. Everybody kind of got their job done, and they kind of chilled out. Whereas some of the other places, oof, some of the other terminals, man, it was just like, ugh. They used to be fighting over there, gambling, shooting dice. It was crazy. So I damn near got in a fight on one of the terminals. I almost had to knock a dude out. That's why they didn't send me over there again. But come to find out, time went on, and I stopped working for Delta. I had quit because I had to go full time at school, and I was getting into my majors, my biology and philosophy major class. So I had to quit. And one day I was walking through the airport when I finally was a passenger. I don't know. I was flying. I don't know where I was flying. I think I was flying to. Maybe I was flying to Cali. I can't remember. But I was walking through the airport, and I seen him. I seen him. He was getting off work. It was like late at night. And he said he called me. He said, "Hey man," he said, "Hey man, Alpha." And I was like, "What's up?" I didn't really recognize him because he grew a beard and stuff. And I was like, "Do I know you?" He's like, "Man, it's me." And I was like, "What?" I can't remember his name, but he was like, "It's me, man. Remember me?" And I was like, "Oh, what's up, dog?" So I dapped him up. He's like, "Man, I made it." And I was like, "What you mean?" He said, "I made it. I'm a supervisor now." And because he didn't have his vest on, supervisors they wear, I think they wear yellow or blue vests, and regular people wear just regular orange. He pulled out the blue vest. I was like, "Oh shit," I was like, "What's up?" I said, "Oh shit, you got it." You know what I'm saying? And he just stopped like mid sentence. He said, "Let me tell you something, man." He said "I'm so glad I met you." And I was like, "What you talking about, man?" I said, "It was all good. We were just grinding and hustling." He's like, "Nah, man, you was the only one. You was the only one to tell me go for that job. You was the only one." He said everybody else laughed at me. They was calling me shorty, and little dude, I don't know what I'm doing. He said, "Man," he said, "you was the only one to tell me to go for that job, and I got it out of everybody. I went for the interview, I did it, and I got it out. I beat out everybody for that job." He said, "Now all them people scared of me now." I was happy as hell. So when I tell y'all I do this for you, I really do this for you. If I reach one of you, just one person, if I reach just one person and I stop them from getting a bad deal in dating and mating by listening to my channel, I'm happy. I'm happy. That's worth more to me than a million views and a million subscribers. Because if one person can say, Alpha, man, you stopped me from getting a bad deal. I was about to get a bad deal. I listened to your channel. I heard you say this over here on this, and that stopped me from getting a bad deal. That'll make my day. So if any of you guys are listening to me on any of these platforms, BitChute, Rumble, YouTube, D2, Cloud Hub, all the rest of them, if I say something that helps you from getting a bad deal, put it in the comment section. If I got the comment section turned on. Some of the time I gotta turn it off because of the trolls and the racist people, and I just don't want that ugliness around my channel. But if I'm on a platform where they can be held accountable like YouTube or something, I'll leave the comments on, you know. But that little story is exactly why I started doing this channel, because uh, that one guy, I didn't realize how much of an effect that I had on that dude. I didn't understand it, because to me I was like, he's the perfect guy for it. I mean, he took the job. He loved being a ramp agent. He was a career guy, so I had no problem with that. But he said those words helped him. It motivated him to keep going, because he was looking at me and he was like, man, I seen how you was coming in here busting your ass and still going to school, despite you was in the military, and uh, I was getting a lot of negative hate at that time because that was during the Iraq War. I was getting a lot of hate from people, indirectly, because of what President Bush was doing. I was like, look, I ain't got nothing to do with that shit. I'm just in the military. That don't mean I approve of what we was doing, but at that time, man, we was catching some heat, and then all of a sudden, a lot of us millennials, the older millennials, we said, fuck that. We started clapping back at people, and that shit stopped. That's why they call us post 9/11 veterans. Look that up. Post 9/11 veterans. They are very afraid of us. If you're a post 9/11 millennial veteran, you have more power than you know. They are terrified of us, not because of some kind of violent act or nothing like that, but because of the political power that we have. We fought the longest war. We volunteered and fought the longest war, and we're the most educated. Yeah, they told us to go get all them degrees, and we did it. I got a few of them myself. So a lot of them now, a lot of the older boomers and Gen Xers, they are very terrified of us, because, and that's not so much Gen Xers, because some of them, they went to Desert Storm, but they didn't. Desert Storm wasn't that long. We fought the longest war on history. Period. We did it. It was a 20-year war, the longest one in history. All right, and we volunteered to do it. They didn't have to draft us in. You get it? And we got the most education out of all the other generations. So a lot of people now, they looking at us and they saying, "Wow, these millennial vets. If you think I'm lying, look at your vice president. He's a millennial. JD Vance is a post 9/11 millennial vet, a Marine. Hoorah!" So I was getting a lot of problems up there at that time. So he kind of helped me out with stuff, because he was a full blown civilian. He had no military, but it really helped me out. It touched me, because I was like, damn, I didn't realize how much I had an effect on that guy. But he made supervisor, and I was very happy. So at the end of the day, if I get one person on my channel to like what I'm saying, to hear it and say, hey man, that helped me out, that stopped me from getting a bad deal, I've reached my goal. All right, y'all. So let me get into the game tonight. And that's how I do, new listeners. I might go for a little, I might go for a long. I'm going to flow. All right, I'm going to flow, because every time I tell you something, there's always a message in it. And the message of that story is, you never know how much of an effect your words can have on somebody. That's code. You don't know how much of an effect good or bad that your words can have on somebody. So don't think that just because you saying something to somebody that it doesn't have an effect. You might think the small motivation you giving somebody, but to them it could be the world of help. And don't think that the small hating or troll that you're doing to somebody isn't as significant. That might cause them to do something stupid. So be careful of what you're doing with your words. And that's why I want to talk about this subject tonight. We are on borrowed time. We on borrowed time. All right? That's exactly what's going on in the Western society, the quote unquote unregulated dating and mating system. I've talked about this multiple times. And I'm kind of trying to get people to see the reality of the situation. All right? We got things that just are not going to go away. What spurred me to do this topic tonight is the idea that I've seen on a lot of these panels. When I look at some of these panels, and I don't look at them no more. I very rarely look at them. You know how they pop up in your feed, and sometimes you just gotta see because they got such a crazy thumbnail or a crazy topic. But I looked at one of these panels, and I kind of got the idea that a lot of these men and women, by the way, they think that they think that women are, I don't know what it is, but they think that women are going to miraculously, all of a sudden, all of them are going to come together and create some kind of ethical, moral moratorium or something. Like they're going to have this big conference among women, and they're all going to say it's time to be ethical and moral in our dating and mating decisions. That's just the vibe that I'm getting. That's just the sense that I'm getting from these people. You know? And the reason why I get that sense from them, because the people who are hoping women do that, they understand that we are on borrowed time. They understand that. They know that time is running out. I wrote a book about dating and mating as a system for society, not a hookup system, not a getting laid system, just a philosophical theory on how human beings dating mate systematically. That's all it is. When you don't have rules and regulations, you're going to have a GPS. GPS, the word G is genetics, personality, security research, G, P, and S. Women are going to choose men in that order on those three traits every time. Genetics first, personality second, security resources last. When you say we sick of this shit, we are not going to wait on these women to develop some higher moral ethical calling. We going to start regulating this stuff. It's done. We tired of this mess. We tired of all the single mothers. We tired of all the high divorce rate. We tired of women divorcing perfect husbands. Look that up. We got an epidemic of that right now. Divorcing and feminists are doing cartwheels trying to justify it. Well, he's too perfect, and being too perfect means that can be too much, and that can be abusive. Being too perfect can be abusive. I mean, unbelievable. I read one article, the lady said, well, he makes great money, and the man loves his kids, and the man has never cheated, and that can be abusive. Complete foolishness. Doing cartwheels trying to make it seem like somehow the woman is a victim of something. All right, this is borrowed time activity. We are on borrowed time, y'all. We're on borrowed time. So all these things that's going on, especially the low birth rate, they are absolutely saying we on borrowed time. They're on borrowed time. Listen, I'm not a pessimist and I'm not an optimist. I'm a realist. What does a pessimist do? Doom and gloom is all over. Anarchy, who cares? No, I'm not saying that. I've never said that. What does an optimist do? Everything's fine. Nothing to see here. It's all fine and it's all going to work out with no pain or penalty. I'm definitely not saying that. I'm a realist. What am I saying? We are on borrowed time. That's a realist position. That is a realist position. We're on borrowed time. We are at the point where these situations, these outcomes, they're not going to be, they can't be uno, reverse, cartwheel out of, thrown into the fifth dimensions of empathy and feelings. Okay, it's not going to happen. The bill has come due. It's almost like going to a restaurant, and you sit down to eat. You eating. Now, if you got the money to pay the check, you eating and you smiling. But if you eating that food and you like, shit, I ain't got this money, your meal ain't gonna go down too smooth. You can't really relax because you thinking, shit, I know the bill gonna come. You see what I'm saying? It's inevitable. It's going to happen. We on borrowed time. I want everyone to understand this tonight. I'm gonna make it even plainer for everybody. This is one of the goals of this channel. I just told you the other one. If I can help one person don't get a bad deal, I've met my goal. That's one of my goals. The second goal that I really want to achieve on this channel is this. I want us as a society to make a decision. And it doesn't matter to me what decision we make. I'm cool with either decision. I'm going to be honest with y'all. I'm cool with either one. All right? If we decide as a society to continue to let all this stuff go on with no rules and regulations, right? We're just going to let people do what they do. I'm cool with that decision. I'm okay with that decision. So be it. If we decide that and we all say, look, we don't care about these outcomes. We don't care if this is the cost that's required for us to maintain no rules and regulations in dating and mating, so be it. I'm cool with that. If that's what society says, I'm okay with that. I will not revolt or rebel or fight or fuss or nothing. I just want it to be known. You understand what I'm saying? If people say the sexual revolution happened, this is the status quo. We're not going away from this status quo. It ain't going to change. I'm cool with that. That don't bother me. I can live with it. You understand what I'm saying? Because at that point, I'm going to say, okay, y'all made the decision to know we're not going to change any of this. We know these outcomes are going to keep happening. I'm going to teach men and the few women who want to listen how to get a good deal. That's all I'm going to do. I'm going to teach them how to date and mate in no rules and regulations and how to get a good deal. Don't judge me how I teach them. See what I'm saying? Don't get mad at what I teach them. You see what I'm saying? I understand what needs to happen to quote unquote get a good deal in an unregulated society. I understand the concept. I get it. And I apologize. Y'all know I have allergies. We got this nasty little wind. It's the middle of May. I don't know when I'm gonna release this video. But we got like this one last burst of cold coming through, and I live in the mountains. It always does this shit. Then it'll get hot, and it'll stay hot all the way until like November. And I'm about to cut on my heater, so I apologize. I don't know when I'm going to release this, but I did it in May. It's the middle of May. I think it's May 15th or 16th, something like that. And in the mountains, man, you go down to LA, it'd be hot as hell, come up here, and we still in icicles, It gets kind of irritating, It's like, okay, go ahead and get hot, because once it get hot, it don't stop until November. You see what I mean? So I apologize if y'all hear me sniffling or snuffling or breathing hard. I have allergies, and it is what it is. All right, so essentially, I have no problem with society saying, hey, we're not going to do anything about it. We're going to let this go on. We don't care about the outcomes, so be it. And I'm okay. I'm gonna say fair enough. I'm gonna teach men and women how to not get a bad deal. Don't get mad at what I teach them. You see what I'm saying? Don't get mad at that, because what I'm gonna teach them is gonna be legal. It's all gonna be legal, but it might not meet your ethical requirements. You get what I'm saying? It may not meet your ethical standards. You see what I'm saying? For example, I might teach men, uh, you can lie as much as you want. See what I'm saying? I might teach men that. Hey, lie as much as you want. I don't care. There's no rules and regulation. There's no standard. So there's no one telling you can't lie. There's no one telling you have to lie. It's your choice. And men do lie. Absolutely. Just like women lie. See? See what I'm saying? So don't get mad when I tell men that, because you don't want any rules and regulations. You've decided that. That's fine. That's cool with me. I can live with that. Or if society say, hey, we going to put some rules and regulation in. We tired of this mess. We are sick of it. We tired of all these bad outcomes, single mothers, divorces, children out of wedlock, all this infidelity, foodie call, friend zone, all this stuff. All they going to keep going on. We are tired of all that. We about to shut it down. Fair enough. I want a seat at the table when y'all deciding what rules and regulations y'all putting in. You see what I'm saying? Then I can deal with that too. If society say we gonna put in some rules and regulations, we done with this. Hey, we sick of this. We gonna put some rules and regulations in, and we gonna get some better outcome. We gonna change all this around. Fair enough. I want a seat at the table while y'all deciding the rules and regulations. I want some input on what rules and regulations I think should be given. That's it. That's my position. I'm trying to force us to get to that point where we make a decision whether we are going to let it ride or we going to stop it. Either way, it don't make none to me. I'm cool with either one. And the problem is we should have already been there. That's why I say we are on borrowed time. We should have already came to that. We're 70 years after the sexual revolution, 4 generations. The 5th one about to come up, Gen Alpha. Then the 6th one gonna come up, Gen Bravo. Then the 7th one gonna come up, Gen Charlie. And on and on and on. Delta, Echo, Foxtrot, on and on and on. We got to make a decision. We are already on borrowed time. I think the decision should have been made during Gen X, in my opinion. They should have, right there is where they started seeing the problems. They should have stopped right there and said, hey, look, we're starting to see problems. All right, what are we going to do? Are we going to let these problems keep going on? Or are we going to stop it and go back to the old system? Don't make no bit of difference to me. We on borrowed time. I'm trying to speed up the conversation, because what I don't want is I don't want us to crash out as a society. I don't want that. I don't want any kind of anarchy or some kind of rebellion or anything like that. I want us to, as a society, to come together in a civilized manner and say, this is the situation. Are we going to let it ride, or are we going to do something about it? That's as plain, as simple as I can make it. That's the second goal of this channel. Number 1 is to help one person don't get a bad deal. Number 2, force us to make a decision. Let it ride or stop it altogether. And I believe we're on borrowed time. We should have already made that decision. We're going to have to do something. It's not going to get any better. That's not a pessimistic view. That's a realistic view. And I believe the reason why we're on this borrowed time is because some people are waiting for women to develop some kind of ethical moral dilemma. They're not going to do it. They're not going to do it. I had one lady tell me this. She said, Alpha, you know what? She said, sometimes, Alpha, I don't know if I want to cancel you or promote you. And I said, if you thinking that way or feeling that way, that's exactly what I want you to do. And she said, I thought that would offend you. I said, no, I want you to do that. That tells me that you understand the concept of what I'm talking about. Because she said, on the one end, you're telling men to accept women for what they're doing, which is what I'm saying. I am saying that. They're not going to change. But she said also on the other end, you're saying women are incapable of doing certain things. I say, absolutely right. She said, I don't like that part, but it's true. I said, that's exactly the point. I'm going to say that again. She said, I don't like that you say women are incapable of developing ethics and morals in dating and mating. They just not going to do it. She said, I don't like when you say that, but I know that you're telling me the truth, that it's right. I did a video called Hate It or Love It on the Passport Bros. I was talking about the Passport Bros, and the Passport Bros, that's what they've told people. Hate it or love it. You either hate the Passport Bros or you love it. They're not giving you a gray area. We gone. That's what they tell them. We gone. We out of here. We want a better system. We gone. We going to another country to get a better dating system. That's all that they're doing. They say culture, but it's really a system. They're going overseas to countries that have what? SPGs, rules and regulations. And they're going over there getting what? Better outcomes. So that lady, essentially, that's what I told her. I said, that's it. I said, that's, she said, it's almost like you are on our side, but you're not on our side. I said, look, I'm on the side of logic. I'm on the side of what makes sense. I said, I'm not on women's side. I'm not on men's side. I'm on the side of logic. We're on borrowed time. We can't keep doing this. The government is, I hate to say it, I don't want to say the government's broke, because you can't be broke when you literally own the currency. So shout out to Warren Buffett. Look up Warren Buffett when they asked him about the deficit. They was asking Warren Buffett. They said Warren Buffett asked. They said, "What do you think about the U.S. deficit? You know, what do you think about it? You know, is it too much? Is it a problem? What do you can foresee?" And Buffett said, look, he just told the truth. He said, look, the U.S. deficit is not a problem at all. And they were like, what? They said, Warren Buffett, wait a minute, you're like a staunch supporter of not having debt and liabilities, you know, all the words and finances. And Buffett said, yeah, as a business owner, I'm anti-debt. You should have very little liabilities as you can, because that's how you maximize your profits. He said, but the problem is that the government owns the currency. So he said, as long as we own the currency and the currency debt is in our currency, we good to go. And I thought about it, say he's right. Our debt is in our currency. Have you noticed that? That, you know how you see that website, the U.S. debt clock? The debt is ticking at, you know, whatever, you know, 20 trillion. I don't know what the debt is, but it's in our currency, $20 trillion. It's not in 20 trillion euros. It's not in 20 trillion won, 20 trillion dinar, 20 trillion pesos. That's the first time I heard someone ever say that. I was like, you know what? That makes a lot of sense. As long as the debt stays in our currency, meaning we owe ourselves, we good to go. And he was right. But at the same time, we are kind of quote unquote on borrowed time. We're floating with it. Why? Because more countries are trying to do what? Move away from US dollars. Boom. And that's a problem. We are the reserve currency of the world. If these countries decide they don't want US dollars as the reserve currency, we become in trouble. And it is my conspiracy theory that that is why all this is going on, because they're telling us you guys are on borrowed time. You're running up debt. You got all these bad outcomes in dating and mating that can't be denied. And everything that you funding into your dating and mating is giving you what? Negative outcomes. I don't know other way to say it. It's not funny, but it is funny. Everything we're doing in dating and mating is not giving us a positive ROI, return on investment. We're not getting better outcomes in marriages. That's a fact. We're not getting less single mothers. That's a fact. We're not getting less children born out of wedlock. That's a fact. I don't even want to talk about the STDs and the debt that our women are what? In terms of physicality, they're some of the most obese women in the world. Obese. Yes. Not overweight, obese. And y'all know I'm telling the truth. You walk out. I live in California. In terms of fitness, California as a state is ranked pretty high as far as population fitness. I mean, this is, entertainment of the world. You see some, but even out here, there are days where I walk around, I'm like, my God, you see some women, and it's like, whoa, what happened to her? And that applies to men too. The men in America are some of the most obese men in the world. But we do have, as far as men, the problem with men is that I ran into this when I was in the military. BMI, the BMI scale and all that stuff. I'm 6'6" and I'm 235, about 240. And if you put me on those standards, I think they say they want me to be 6'6" and like 215. I mean, that's a stick. I would look like a skeleton. That's, you see what I'm saying? It kind of goes a little wacky with men because men put on muscle, whereas with women, it's harder for women to put on muscle. So when a woman becomes obese, it's not because of her putting on muscle. It's usually because she's got more fat. It is what it is. Women can build muscle, but it takes them a lot longer and it's harder for them to build muscle. Whereas for men, I could take a dude who's overweight, give him to me for about a year, dude gonna look like fucking Arnold Schwarzenegger, or Ronnie Coleman, you know what I'm saying? I can pretty much shred him up in no time because that's what our biology is meant to do. We have testosterone and muscles and red blood cells and larger lungs and all that stuff to kind of mitigate all that stuff. Give me a man that's motivated to get in shape and I can pretty much make him an amateur athlete. I have no doubts about that. So in terms of dating and mating as a society, we are in a negative ROI. We're on borrowed time. When I say borrowed time, that means that when you're putting something into something, right? Essentially, you're if you have I'll just use a very simple analogy of a business. Let's say you start a business, and let's say you take $1,000 of your money to start a business, right? You took $1,000 of your personal money that you had to start a business, right? So at a bare minimum, in order for you to break even, you need to do what? You need to get $1,000 back. That's the break even. All right. Now, once you go past $1,000, you're what? A positive. You're in a positive. You're making a profit. You're net. You're positive ROI. See what I'm saying? It's not a positive if you break even. If you put in 1,000 and you get back 1,000, that's not a positive ROI. That's just breaking even. You get it? But when you put in 1,000 and you get back $1,001, now you have a positive ROI. Not a big ROI, but it is a positive ROI. So the ROI has to be positive in order for you to see progress in your business. If you're just breaking even, we call that what? Wasting time. See what I'm saying? You're just wasting time. Right? And if you quote unquote ain't getting, now if you getting an ROI, right? If you're getting a positive ROI, you're doing what? You're maximizing time. You're in the profit zone. That's good. Keep doing it. See what I'm saying? You done made your 1,000 back. Now you're making $100, $200, $300, $400, another 1,000. See what I'm saying? We call that what? In the black. That's in the black. It's funny. Black people are bad when you got black skin, but when your business making money, they say it's in the black. You're in the black. I say, yeah, I'm in the black every morning. I look at black. Why can't I be positive? All right, so you are maximizing your time when you got a positive ROI. You are wasting time when you got a neutral ROI. And when you got a negative ROI, a negative, you're what? Wasting time. You're wasting your time. You are losing time. You go from wasted neutral to losing time. Now all the time you're doing in your business is a loss of time. So in order for you to continue on in a negative ROI business, you have to do what? You have to borrow. You have to go into debt because you're already losing. You're already losing time. You're already losing time. So you already what? You're already going into debt with your business. In order for you to maintain that business, and you're losing, you're not making a profit, you're losing more than you can make, you are going to do what? You're going to have to do what? You're going to have to borrow against your business. You're borrowing time. That's what you're doing. You're not breaking even. You're not getting positive. You're in the negative. When you do that, you are borrowing time. You're on borrowed time. Have you ever seen that Batman movie with Bane? I can't remember what it was called. I don't think it was called The Dark Knight, but it was the last one that Christopher Nolan did, and it was a good one. And when Bane went to the stock exchange, what did he do? He met the guy who paid him the money, and the guy said, Bane, your little plan didn't work. You hit the stock exchange, but I'm not running Wayne Company. The guy wanted to take over Wayne Company. He said, it didn't work. It didn't work. And then Bane told the guy, leave us. He told the little assistant, leave us. And the man who was talking to Bane said, no, don't leave us. I'm in charge. And then Bane put his hand on his neck and said, do you feel in charge? And the guy got scared and he started, pleading with him. He said, I paid you a lot of money to do this. And Bane said, and you think your money gives you power over me? Your money has been helpful. That's what Bane said. And the man was like, he was pleading. He was like, what are you, Bane? What are you? Because he thought Bane was for this guy getting the stock exchange. Bane said, I'm necessary. He said, you are all on borrowed time. You're all on borrowed time. Gotham is on borrowed time. That's what he said. Y'all should have been fell, but y'all been getting propped up by who? Batman. That's what's going on with us. We are on borrowed time. We are running around going to all these other countries trying to tell them about the great thing about America, right? And how well we're doing. And then they look at us and we got girls waiting at 12 o'clock midnight to start doing OnlyFans. We got pastors' wives who go preacher, then go OnlyFans. We got women having hundreds of men line up outside to be in the next 1,000-man gangbang in 24 hours. This is what's going on. We got women saying, my husband was too perfect, I gotta divorce him. This is what's going on. We had a judge, what, a year and a half ago? A judge who sat over divorce cases, right, for like 50 or 60 years. Come to find out, his wife had him raise another man's child. His wife committed paternity fraud. We are on borrowed time. How are we going to tell them the great things about America and what we're doing great, which I love America. But in the context of dating and mating, we can't tell anybody what to do. We don't have any placement to criticize any country. I don't care where it is. No, it's so funny. People talk about the war in Iran and what Iran does with their women. And I looked up their laws. They have an SPG. They have an SPG and they get better results in terms of dating and mating. It is what it is. And I don't support any violence towards women. I never will. But in terms of us going over there telling them about how they treat their women, they're looking at us saying, "Are you kidding me? You talking about how we treat our women? Look at how you treat your women." This is why I say we're on borrowed time. You can't throw no more money at this. It's not going to work. We're going to have to make a decision in the West. Really not just America, in the West as a whole. We're going to have to do it. Y'all know me. I hate going to the dentist. I had the same outcome and the same conclusion when I had to go. I've been doing dental restorative care for the last 2.5 years. She's done over $250,000 worth of dollars of dental work in my mouth. Literally, I've had like 5 root canals, 6 cavities, 4 crowns, 2 bridges. This woman has done a lot of work, and I hate the dentist. And she has to use extra strength. She has to special order the numbing. I can't use regular numbing because my adrenaline burns through all of the numbing in like 30 minutes. She has to pump like 4 shots in me, and she has to put nitrogen gas on me. Literally, I'm literally there smiling with nitrogen. I have to breathe that for about 15 minutes just for her to get me to where she can numb me up, because my adrenaline and how I've been working out so much. And she even says, like, my God, your metabolism just burns through this stuff fast. She had never seen that before. You know, most of the people she deal with, you know, they're kind of elderly, or they're not really, you know, like amateur athletes or nothing like. They're just regular normal people. And then she see me, the black super soldier, you know. And she's like, every time I see you, I have to go to my book. I have to do a lot of reading because you are very, she said, I've talked to other doctors about you. You're a very unique patient. Your metabolism is, you burn through everything, and your teeth is very, very, I have like a very strong bite, you know, really strong bite. I never bit her, but you know, you get what I'm saying? The point I'm making is, before I went on that road of doing all that care, I was on borrowed time. And she told me that. I seen her before she started, and she said, I'm surprised that you got to where you are right now. And I was like, what do you mean? She said, your teeth are messed up. She did the x-ray. She said, this is gone. This is, I'm gonna have to, and she had to remove one. She said, I gotta remove this one. These four need root canal. This one, you have an abscess on this one. I was like, damn. And she's like, I'm just amazed that you even here. She's like, most people would have just, they would have came on one tooth. She's like, you got like 14 teeth that are messed up in your mouth. And I don't do drugs. I don't do any drugs. And I do brush my teeth, but at that time I wasn't flossing. I was not flossing. So all the decay and all the stuff I had was in between my teeth. I was never, I was in the military, man. I used to dip red, man, and, chew tobacco and shit like that. Thank God I stopped because, I didn't develop any oral cancer or nothing. But she was like, she was like, I'm surprised you guys. She's like, you've been on borrowed time. She told me that. She said, you was on borrowed time. She's like, it's just a matter of any day, any month before your body might go septic. She's like, I'm surprised you even able to walk around without feeling all that stuff. And at that time, I was still in a very heavy workout regimen. So, I was on borrowed time. And you better believe when she started that treatment, I really realized I was on borrowed time. Because it all came down all at once. She started with one tooth, boom. Another one popped off. I started with another one, boom. Another one popped off. I'm talking about pain. It just all started coming down, all of it. And I had to make a decision. I had to dedicate my life to fixing my mouth. That was the only way I could get to where I am now. I had to get serious about it. I was taking it as a joke. I'll never forget it. She was like, you think this is a joke? She's like, you don't know what's coming your way. Lo and behold, boy, I woke up one morning screaming, oh. One day I was working on my transmission. I cracked my tooth. Oh. Other day I was spitting out blood one more. Oh. It was like everything was just coming down. I was on borrowed time. That's where we are now, right now, y'all. We are on borrowed time. I'm going to bring this to a close because I don't want to be too long, but I want y'all to think about something. When the society, it doesn't matter where we are, when a society of men don't want to be with the women in terms of long-term dating and mating, and they don't want to have children with the women, when that society men do that, that's the beginning of the end. It is what it is. Because those men are going to naturally say, what? Why should I defend this society when I don't have nothing to look forward to? Boom. In short, what am I getting out of it? You can read this all over the world. When the men don't want to mate with the women, that's the beginning of the end of that society. And what usually happens, if you read history, an outside country, outside tribe, group, whatever you want to call it, they come in and the local men will put up a fight initially. Initially, they will do it. That's just men's natural response. But what happens is that the outside group, if they know that those men don't want to mate with the women, they will proposition the men and say, hey, look, if you go with our way of doing things, this is what we can promise you from women. at that point, there's been numerous cases, look it up throughout history, where the local men have said, screw it, let's go with the new guys. That ain't nothing new. That's been happening on the continent, Europe, all over the planet. Local men decide they don't want to mate with the women. External group come in. Hey, we got a better deal if you go with us. So be it. Got a new country, new society. That's what communists do. You can look that up. Hey, y'all don't like capitalism? Hey, go with a little bit of communism. There you go. Boom, communist comes in. And the same thing for capitalism. That's what happened in Venezuela. Hey, y'all don't like this communism? Nope. We'll come in with some capitalism. Boom, done. The point I'm making is that when the group of men decide that they don't want to mate with the women and the women don't want to mate with the men and they can't come together on this, and you get into outcomes, you run into the situation where you become on borrowed time. It's just a matter of time. So I wanted to come to y'all tonight to get y'all to start thinking like that. And when you see all these discussions, just put it in your mind, are they moving us to where we need to be? The conversation needs to move to where we as a society say, either we're going to stop this or we're not. That's all I'm asking for. Either we're going to stop this stuff or we're going to let it ride. I'm cool with either one. And I'll end it on this. I don't know. I'm going to be honest with y'all. I don't know if we come to this point and we say, let it ride. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know how long we'll last as a society. I don't know. Because we are a fairly new society and it's kind of different what we're doing. You know, we got the most powerful military on the planet. We are the richest country on the planet. All right? We have some of the most best freedoms. But we got the worst dating and mating system on the planet right now, bar none. Can't be denied. You see what I'm saying? Our government, it's kind of working, checks and balances, that concept, but it's got some holes in it. I don't know how long we can do this. I don't know. I'm being honest with you. You see? And I'm going to be honest with you. If we say we not going to let it ride, we're going to stop it, Alpha, I don't know if what we bring in is going to be quote unquote constitutional. You understand? I can tell you right now off the bat, it's probably not. I'm just being honest with y'all. There's going to be some, if we decide that we're going to stop this, it's going to be some parts of the Constitution that's going to probably get a little gray. No society on this planet can survive when the majority of men don't want to mate with the majority of women in that country. Boom. No society has ever survived when you don't force monogamy. Boom. I want y'all to think about that. Don't crucify me for it. I'm just getting you to understand. Every time you hear these conversations, see if they're trying to push people to the final question. The final question is what? Are we going to let it ride or are we going to stop it? Either one. Don't make none of me. We all have to do that individually. We gotta get away from all this trying to come up with psychology and empaths and trying to get men to give up their agency and trying to get men to suppress their biological nature. None of that's gonna work. And we got to get away from this idea that all of a sudden women going to develop some ethics and morals and what they do. Oh, they're going to feel guilty and shame for standing men up and friend zoning men and cheating on their husbands who are perfect and divorcing perfect husbands and cuckolding judges, you know. we got to get away from that. Nothing's going to change if we put the question up front. Are we going to let it happen? Are we going to stop it? That's where we need to move the conversation. I'm cool with either one. I'm cool with either one. If we put a stop to it, I'm just telling you now, the Constitution's going to get gray. If we let it ride, I don't know how long we're going to last. But until that time comes, I can tell y'all what. What is that? We on borrowed time. All right, y'all, I got to get out of here. Got to roll. Got things to do. Shout out to the night shift. Shout out to the overtime crew. Shout out to all the new people and the old people. Shout out to my trolls. Leave my trolls alone. They give us a click and view. Shout out to BitChute, Rumble, D2, Cloud Hub, Odyssey, YouTube. Y'all know what it is. It's me. It's your man, your boy, Alpha the First One. And for everybody else I forgot,